Daddy's home.
Cake every night.
No, Kong! Take me back!
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
Yeah, that'll work great.
We'll do it live!
Live on network TV! Jesus, Harold Christ on a...
All right. We are here today. This time I'm the host of this. I don't have a fancy name for my viewers. I can't say Jacksonites, but I'm here with Nick Jackson. Introduce yourself.
Oh, am I live now?
Yes. You guys know Nick. Today he's actually on the channel though, and we're going to be doing a redux of something we did probably about 2 years ago at this point.
Almost 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, pretty close. We're going to be ranking the Kong films. There are a couple new things that we didn't do last time. Obviously, there's a new movie, so we have that to take into account.
There's a new movie.
Right.
There's been 2 alternate cuts of 2 films that have been released. And we've decided to add 3 other giant gorilla movies.
Yep.
Rampage.
Mighty Joe Young.
Both versions of Mighty Joe Young, the 1949 original and the Disney 98 remake.
Which I need to get my hands on those. Anyway, so are you still saying that you have a tie? Because if that's true, then you would have 13 out of 14.
Nah, I'll keep them separate just to stay consistent.
Okay. All right. So I guess being my guest, I can let you start this one with number 14.
Okay, so oddly, my Mighty Joe 49 review has blown up like crazy, probably because I gave myself a bit of an upgrade. But my brother actually gave me a little bit of an insight as to why my video has blown up since then. And he says that, well, maybe it's because you post a highly controversial opinion. So, me being the individual I am starting off this list with not necessarily a controversial opinion, but most people say a certain Kong movie is the worst of all Kong films. And my number 14 is not that. My number 14 is going to be Son of Kong. Man, what a disappointing ass movie. Now, viewers from the past may remember that Son of Kong was second worst on both of our lists. And looking back, comparing this movie to even all the other Kong films that are bad, at least those are complete films. All of them feel like legit first act, second act, third act structured films. Son of Kong, because it's so damn short, so damn rushed, it doesn't feel like a complete movie. I strongly suspect that we all know the story of how RKO wanted the movie released the same year because they wanted the first movie fresh in people's minds. I suspect that was a last-minute decision. Willis O'Brien and Marion C. Cooper were working on the movie, and then halfway through working on the film, their budget was slashed, and they said, have it out in 6 months. Every time I watch Son of Kong, it's just more and more and more frustrating. It's too damn short. It's too damn rushed. It doesn't feel like a complete film. The pacing is all over the place. The special effects are a massive downgrade. Kiko himself, while being an underrated and kind of cool monster, still is extremely, extremely... He's kind of a plot hole, too, because you'd think apes having a strong social bond between parents and kids Where the hell was the Son of Kong the entire time during the first movie? Kong acts so much like he's alone on the island. And then this movie comes along and introduces baby Kong, and you're just thinking, where the hell has he been the whole time?
Yep.
Son of Kong is such a frustrating movie. I've stated many times, had this movie been given the same budget as the original, or maybe a slightly bigger budget, this movie could have surpassed the original. But because RKO were a bunch of misguided dumbasses, this movie ended up the way that it is, and just to me, it is the definitive weakest of the entire bunch.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I forgot we ranked them exactly the same in the last video. Now, actually, since then, yeah, our sponsor today, Coke, the new Coke Zero.
I like the color scheme.
I do too. It tastes the exact same, even though they say it tastes better. Anyway, I have actually seen Son of Kong since then, because I hadn't when we did our first video, and I kind of just threw it second to last to be kind of conservative about it. I have seen it, and it is also my 14th pick.
Ha!
But I gotta be honest about this. I like all of these movies, so I don't see putting it here as it's horrible. There was some charm about it. I also did have really low expectations for it, but just stacking them up against all the rest of them, and like you said, considering what it could be, it just doesn't really do much for me. It's more of a Carl Denham continuation, if anything, than a Kong continuation. And I would say, I mean, it's again similar to like Godzilla Raids Again was made in 6 months. Like this was made in 9 months. It was kind of just like a get it out there, which again kind of takes some of the artistry away from it. It didn't allow Willis O'Brien to do his best stuff. So
it's kind of spooky. Looking back to this day, how many parallels there are between Kong and Godzilla.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Raids Again was like, that was made right away.
Mm-hmm.
That came out in May, I think, 55. So that came out really fast too. Oh, it did? Jesus.
Uh-huh. The original Godzilla came out in November, and Raids Again came out in April of 55.
Yeah, Son of Kong, as you said, disappointing. But I do find some things I like about it. But number 13, go ahead.
Oh shit, my phone died. This is where I have my list. So I'm pretty sure we might have, yeah, it is. My number 13 is King Kong Lives. This is just the movie that really this is the most forgotten Kong film. It's the most forgettable Kong film, but it's also just the Kong movie that really nobody asked for. 76 was a pretty open shut case that doesn't really leave any room for a sequel. And then 10 years later, everyone they're saying, hey, another King Kong movie, sequel to that movie from 10 years ago. Oh. Yay?
Yep.
This just feels like the most phoned in Kong film. It has some good effects, like the Kong suit looks pretty good.
Yep.
The Lady Kong suit looks pretty decent. It's one of the gorier Kong films because by the end of the movie, Kong is just slathered in blood. It's actually also kind of refreshing to see Kong win against the military for once. Linda Hamilton and her dildo are likable characters. But outside of that, this is not nearly as much as another movie on this list. This movie also just feels kind of soulless. Nobody really wanted to make this movie, except maybe Dino De Laurentiis and maybe John Gullerman. But this just feels so phoned in. Even Kong himself feels phoned in. And just feels utterly disinterested in being in this movie. Also, the ending with how the hell does Lady Kong look massively pregnant by the end of the movie, and then she goes through this big birthing process, and baby Kong is like this tall compared to his parents. The fuck?
Yeah.
King Kong Lives is not necessarily a terrible movie. It's just the most there. It's just there. Like, oh yeah, King Kong Lives. Eh,
It happened.
it happened, yeah.
Um,
And it's unfortunate too that despite the fact that I say it's one of the weakest monster movies ever, it badly needs a new DVD release.
Yep.
I'm not paying $70 for a movie I'm not a big fan of. Sorry.
I was gonna say, if you don't have anything else to finish, I'm gonna say this. Let's enjoy this while it lasts, because it's gonna deviate a lot from here. But my number 13 is also King Kong Lives, which I do have a DVD of. I got this really cheap, like almost a decade ago. But seriously, again, what you said, I mean, it is forgettable, deservedly so. But there are highlights to it, and I think this film was actually, in some ways, a little more annoying than Son of Kong. Whereas this one, if this one gave us the ending we could have asked for, like Kong actually living and being victorious, then it would have had a point. But I feel like they just brought Kong back a decade later to kill him again. And
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I never thought about that, but you're right.
It's like, hey, great, Kong lives again. It's like, no, he doesn't. So it's like we're right back where we left off. Another heart transplant in 1996. I don't know what the point is. So it's like, yeah, I've seen this movie, I think, twice in my life, maybe. And I remember when I watched it, I was like, yeah, some of the suit work is pretty good. I don't really remember many of the human characters. I remember the opening scene being ridiculous, like the heart transplant being ridiculous. And if I can remember, it's actually Kong's pretty tall in the movie. He might even be taller than 76, like 40 something feet. Which that's cool. And again, like I said, the military stuff is pretty entertaining, but it's like there's no point to it. So that's all I have to say for King Kong Lives.
Not to mention, apparently it was either John Gullerman or Dino De Laurentiis had plans to make another Kong sequel. Well, maybe it could have followed a grown-up baby Kong from this movie, but he also wanted to do apparently an animated series after this. So what the fuck was the point in bringing back Kong? Like you said, Kong dies in 76, then we bring him back to life, and then we kill him off at the end of this movie. If you wanted to have a franchise, why do you keep killing your title character? He can only have so many heart transplants.
Unless it was to set up like Little Kong or something, but
unless it was that. But maybe maybe that's what they were going for, but the lackluster response to this movie just kind of killed those plans. So we're just stuck with this gray area of we don't know.
I do love this artwork, though. I got to be honest. Kong looks awesome.
Despite him being derpy.
Yeah. All right. Number 12 for you.
My number 12. Shit. Fuck. There's something to edit. Okay. This is the one that's going to turn heads. My number 12 is the original 1933 King Kong. Okay. It's not a bad movie by any means. I'm just not a fan. It's not my flavor of monster movie. It's not my flavor of Kong. I'm just not a big fan. I don't like this version of Andaro. I don't like Jack Driscoll. Robert Armstrong is entertaining enough, but he can't do very much to save the characters in this film for me. And the special effects, yes, especially for their time, they are groundbreaking, but I don't think they hold up nearly as well. The stop motion is great for its time, but compared to others, even Mighty Joe Young, as I stated in my review, which was made only 16 years later, That is far better than anything that's showcased in this film. Now, this movie's effects are better than Son of Kong, but that kind of goes without saying because everything is better than Son of Kong. Again, this isn't a bad movie. It's literally the Citizen Kane of monster movies. This is firmly the blueprint of monster movies. And while, yeah, there's lots of things here to appreciate, there's other examples that are far superior, in my opinion. Not a bad movie. It's just not very rewatchable, and I'm just not a big fan of it.
All right. So my number 12, you might get mad at this. Rampage.
Really?
I had a lot of fun with Rampage, but around the time it came out, I think I made a video on this too. I think they
hang on. I didn't show it.
Oh, you didn't show your...
King
there
Kong,
we go.
yeah.
I think I actually have the same disc of that.
The Warner Brothers release?
Yeah.
I got the double pack with Kong and Son of Kong. I didn't get this on the trio pack.
Okay. Yeah, I think that they totally dropped the ball with the concept of the movie. I thought the idea that it's animals growing into monsters was such a horrible turn from the original material because I played the games. I think the idea of I at least played the PS2 one. I think it was not World Tour, the one after that, whatever. Total Destruction, something like that. But the cutscenes in that game were really cool. The idea that like a human just drinks a soda from some like corrupt company and it makes them a monster. They could have, I know, right? They could have upped the horror aspect of that and they could have made it a lot cooler. Instead, they just made it like, already animals. Just, I thought it was a lot dumber that way. Because in this, you could have had an excuse like, oh, that monster's really a human. That makes the stakes much worse. I thought the villains were really stupid. I like The Rock enough. Who the hell is a Walking Dead guy in that?
Oh, Jeffrey D. Morgan.
Jeffrey D. Morgan. I liked him too. I didn't think it was enough to save the movie for me. George is good. And I thought, I also think Rampage has such a big catalog of monsters that they didn't go through. So I just thought it was a lot of missed opportunity. But for what it is, I think it's fun. And I wouldn't mind watching it again. But nothing really impressive to me.
Well, maybe it'll grow on you at the second watch. Nowadays, I think
the effects aren't bad, by the way.
The effects are great. I think before people give their opinions on movies, I think they should watch them twice because I don't think a first-time viewing is good enough. Because a scrap plan, I was going to review Candyman 2021 with Sean. I'm glad that I didn't do that review because I rewatched it again, and had I given my opinion after watching it only once, I would have given it a far more positive opinion.
Okay, your number 11.
My number 11 is going to be... Now, I do have the Shout Factory collector's edition of 1976 King Kong. But there's two cuts, of course. And for those who know me, this will actually shock them. I think the television cut is the inferior version. Now, this was the one that I was going to say was the tie, because right after this comes the theatrical cut. Now, if you don't mind, I'd actually like to talk about these both because I kind of have the same opinions. King Kong 76, which, by the way, great posters for both discs. King Kong 76 is kind of a mixed opinions, but I think, unfortunately, it's mostly kind of negative. The good things to say about this movie It is a good modern update. Whereas the first film feels very 30s, like very, very set in the 30s. This movie, while still feeling very, very 70s, at that same time, it has some timeless elements, like like with its characters being oil tycoons. That doesn't feel like something that's strictly in the 70s. That could be a thing nowadays. I appreciate the realism. Like this is the Shin Gojira of Kong movies. This is where they really wanted to pull it off as being as realistic as possible. They give a genuine effort, and it is done well. Excuse me. Jack Prescott, played by Jeff Bridges, he's a likable character. Fred Wilson is a very over-the-top villain. He's very fun to watch, and he's fun to listen to. The special effects are pretty solid. I don't think this was Rick Baker's first film that he did effects for. But, well, if it was a great first effort. But this was definitely the first showcase that Rick Baker definitely had some freaking talent when it came to big animals. And he does do a great job playing Kong. Kong looks great in this film. His design is really, really solid. The suit looks great. The suitimation itself looks great. The models and the miniatures are really well done. Kong's Rampage in the end of the movie is a lot of fun. Where this movie falters, first of all, why I say the TV cut is the inferior cut. It's very haphazardly paced. One reason why I say the theatrical cut is better, the theatrical cut snipped out all the slow bits. The TV cut put the slow bits back in. That doesn't make for a better movie. Also, not to mention, the TV cut doesn't really change the movie's story. It just features a lot of longer scenes of the same film. It doesn't really change the story. It doesn't really change the perspective. It doesn't change how I feel. Well, no, it kind of changes my opinion on the movie for more negatives. The problem with the TV cut too is that the film is very televised, as in it cuts out all the language and it cuts out all the gore. Kong killing the snake is bloody and gross and nasty in the theatrical cut. And the TV cut also cuts out a lot of blood and gore when Kong is being gunned down. Overall, and talking about both cuts, so I'll just stick with the theatrical cut now too. The problem with Kong 76, I've stated this before. Well, first of all, Jessica Lange can't act worth shit. She may be a pretty face, but she's not a good actor at all. The only time when her acting is good is when she's interacting with Kong at the end of the movie. Because their bond is well done, in my opinion. And like she convincingly shows that she's sad over Kong's death by the end of the film. That's all well and good. But the problem is that this movie overall is just, it's too realistic. It's too bleak. It's too drab. It's too dry. And the biggest thing of all, this movie honestly feels pretty soulless. Because they only have Kong on Skull Island. There's no dinosaurs. There's no other giant monsters. There's no fantasy elements. Because this movie is so realistic and so bleak and drab and dry, this movie feels so soulless. It feels like the filmmakers were so impressed with Kong that they thought he would be strong enough to carry the entire movie by himself. And unfortunately, he's not. That's boring. Because what's the most iconic bit aside from Kong himself from the original King Kong? His fight with the T-Rex or his finale on the Empire State Building. Another problem too, man, is Kong's death very mean-spirited in this film. Why do we need to watch nearly 10 minutes of Kong being gunned the fuck down with chain guns and have him be completely slathered in blood by the end of the movie? Why do we need to see that? Why does it need to be so long? You could literally snip this. You snip 2/3 out of this and get the exact same effect. So, yep. 11 is specifically the TV cut. I do think this is the inferior version. For the first time in my life, at number 10, I say the theatrical cut is the better cut of the movie, but still, it's just not that great of a movie. Sorry, Jack. I know you love this movie. I just don't. I'm not going to lie anymore.
Well, good for us. Jack is streaming right now, I think, so he won't see this. If you don't
I
mind,
know, I see.
I'm going to do my 11 and my 10 in a row so we can catch up. My 11, which I don't own, is the original Mighty Joe Young.
Really?
Like I said, I like all these movies pretty much. So, I didn't really. There wasn't anything about it that like blew me away. I think the movie was way too short. I think it went by way too quick. Like, I don't know why, but like I felt like when we were in like the chase, I call it a chase scene, but the police, kind of
It's
getaway
okay.
thing, I felt like that was building to something, and then it just stopped, and then it was like burning building. I was like, what the hell is this? Which it made for an alright ending. It just didn't feel like cohesive. I think, I mean, Joe himself is pretty awesome. Some of the sets are pretty cool. Definitely not as good as the sets that they did in the original Kong. I would say Jill is all right. It's hard not to compare it to the 98 one, which I'm doing in my head right now. Jill, I don't like Jill as much in this movie. Again, that was sort of the time period. She's supposed to be like, ooh, like woman, but whatever. She's very easily pushed over, I feel like, which is kind of a big sign of weakness. The main protagonist, what's his name? The dumbest, most generic name ever, Greg. I think his name's Greg.
Right.
That guy, he made me hate Southern accents all over again. I couldn't stand that guy. But Robert Armstrong's great. I don't know if I like him as much as Carl Denham, but I thought he was pretty fun. And the effects were good enough. I just think maybe it's just because I'm so used to like the grand scale of the original Kong, and I think even the remake has a bigger scale than this one. So it's okay, but nothing super impressive. It was pretty fun though. I would say it's definitely something I would rewatch just because it is fast. I guess that is an advantage to it being a quick movie. But um, my number 10, funny enough, is the theatrical cut of '76. But as you're going to see, I ranked the extended cut a lot higher. Just to get some of my bigger thoughts out now on the movie, I would say that I don't think I like Fred better than most of the Carl incarnations. I guess there's only been two. But I think it was good that this movie took the
Yeah.
direction of just saying, let's not blur the line between is Carl an antagonist or not. This guy is a bad guy. And I like that they did that with this one. I think Jessica Lange is definitely a step up from Fay Ray, though her acting is not good. Her acting's
Yes,
not good,
but also
but
no.
she's a lot more watchable, even if she might be
There
more
you go.
cringe sometimes. I think I don't know why I'm blanking. Oh my god. Wait, Jack Prescott. I forgot his last name. He's probably one of my favorite Kong human characters in the whole series of all the movies.
Not a
I,
douche.
I just thought it was such a better take on the Jack character. But my main problems with this movie are the lack of action and I the effects can be really good, but they can be really horrible. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's very hit or miss with this movie. Um, and it's like it sometimes it takes you out of it, and that's you never want that. And I feel like actually out of most of these movies, I feel like this one has some of the lowest lows. So, and I felt like it's always been a hard rewatch for me. Uh, so I have it at 10.
Yeah, me too.
So you're number 9.
My number 9.
Which, by the way, sorry, I do have the disc of this one.
I have that same one too, but I just decided to use my collector's disc because it does too have both. My number 9 is the American cut of King Kong versus Godzilla. This is the far inferior cut of this movie. I still stand by what I originally said. If you're Team Kong, watch this cut. Because Universal was so desperately trying to stroke off Kong fans for this movie. They were so badly trying to turn this into a Kong movie over a Godzilla movie. Sorry, it's not, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have much to say. I've literally reviewed this movie 4 times. Hell, you and I reviewed it together twice.
Yes. Actually, an edit of that on my channel.
One of my favorite edits. So really, I can save my full thoughts for the movie when I talk about the Japanese cut, but I will say the American cut is ass. I have some nostalgia for it, sure. I like some of the music choices. And when it's just mostly a straightforward showing of the original cut, I totally lost track. I'm distracted. When it is a straightforward showing of the original movie, it's entertaining, but then the American scenes come around and just ruin it. Not much to say. Let's move on.
Okay. My number 9, I don't have the disc with me. This is at school. As Kong Skull Island.
Really?
Yeah.
So low.
Yep. This is funny. Again, it's hard to have too much historical perspective with this, but I feel like looking at Kong's filmography, I wouldn't say this is a forgettable one, but this movie felt very much like patchwork to me. It felt like it was only made for the purpose of making Godzilla versus Kong, as much as they tried to not shovel Godzilla into that movie. To me, it felt like, all right, like we know what you're doing, we know why this is here, and so I don't know. I still like it. Again, I like all these movies. Let's preface that. I think from here on out, like starting with this one, I can say these are movies that I think are very good. Um, so it's entertaining. It's pretty rewatchable. I do like the human cast a lot. I know a lot of people actually really criticize the movie for the humans. I like the humans. I think that just the soldiers, you get like the very brotherly vibe from all them, and they're interesting characters.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly. I like the acting. It's got a good cast too, which
nice by the end of the night.
yeah, good cast, which helps with that too. No, I like it, but I think it's very much, again, I talk a lot about scale. It feels like a big step down from a lot of the other Kong movies. Like the ending is fun and it's exciting with the skull crawlers, but you never really feel like Kong's in danger because there's a sequel. So it's like I didn't feel like there's a lot of stakes in this one as there are other ones. But still a good movie, and except for one other movie, probably the best Kong effects. So, and I really like this Kong design. I'd say that behind one that's coming up, this is probably my favorite Kong look.
Okay.
Right, your number 8.
My number 8 is nope, that's not it. The Japanese cut of King Kong versus Godzilla. I do have the Criterion set. I told you in my original video, or our original video, that I was going to get the Criterion set. I do have it. I just didn't want to get the disc out because it's a special feature disc. But the Japanese cut of King Kong vs. Godzilla is the definitive cut. That being said, it's still not one of my favorite Godzilla movies. It's not one of my favorite Kong films, but it cuts out all the American footage. It's a much more straightforward Godzilla movie. And as you've said many times, it is kind of it's both a shortened highlight reel of Kong and a shortened highlight reel of Godzilla, and then spliced into one movie and having the two characters collide and fight. The human characters are boring. No more. I'm sick of Mr. Taco. Thankfully, Taco is not nearly as over the top annoying as he is in the American cut, but still don't like Taco. Don't really like any of the characters. The effects are good, except when they're not, and Kong suit. The kaiju action is entertaining. The Godzilla suit looks all right. The final fight on Mount Fuji is a lot of fun. I still say nobody won this fight. It was left ambiguous, as far as I'm concerned. Not much to say. Go watch my re-edit of on Ryan's channel. Just go do that. King Kong vs. Godzilla. It's okay. It's not a bad movie, but it's not one of the best Godzilla movies, nor is it one of the best Kong movies. It's just kind of okay.
Yeah. My re-edit of our review of the Japanese cut is a lot of fun. I think that was a cut comparison, actually. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's a fun video. Go watch that. My number 8 is Mighty Joe Young, 1998. This is like dead middle of the list now. I saw this about a year ago, and I didn't really have a lot of expectation for it other than seeing, I think I might have watched Jack's video on it, maybe, but I hadn't remembered much about it except for, like the practical effects and all that. So I decided to watch it. I was surprised by how much I got into the movie, and I think the acting was good, the characters were good, the effects were good, and I think the ending was very good. The ending was actually sad, emotional, until it's like, oh, he's not actually dead. But it was, I finished that movie and I just felt good about it. I was like, oh, that was a good movie, and I wasn't sure I expected that from this. Again, I think the acting was good. I really like, now that I've seen both versions, I definitely like Jill better in the new one. Bill Paxton's good in that movie. And obviously, Joe himself, the effects are pretty damn good. Oh, asshole, cut me right off. So there's not a lot of... I don't remember a lot of moments I thought the effects were bad. But it is a very Disney movie at times, but I think it actually
in a late
works.
90s movie.
Yeah, but I think it works in this case. So not too much else to talk about, but I really enjoyed this movie when I saw it. So your number 7, which I don't have that on DVD. I should get it.
Like $7. And you should get this movie too, because it's only $14. My number 7 is the original Mighty Joe Young. Watch my review. I give all my thoughts, but I like this movie a lot. I think it's a lot better than Kong. It's a very underrated creature feature. No, he is not, Sean. Shut up, Sean. I really dig the shit out of this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's very underrated. It's very well made. This is just a damn fun monster movie. Love it.
That's it?
Yep.
Yeah, I've talked a little bit about it. My number 7 is the extended cut of King Kong 76. Probably mainly because I hadn't seen it in a long time. I hadn't seen the theatrical cut in a long time, so seeing it again, I was like, wow, this is really fun. Again, I talked about the characters that I liked and all those changes. What I like about this, I actually didn't mention this. I really like the Kong suit in this movie. I'd probably put it as my third favorite look. Um, behind, another one I'll get to later. But I thought this was a lot of fun seeing it extended. Again, there's a couple moments I think where the effects where I think there's extra scenes where the effects look extra bad that I could recall. But overall, I thought like I just took a day, like an afternoon, and I just put this on, and it was nice to just let it run for the. I don't know if it's exactly 3 hours because
3 hours and 13 minutes, but
there's
there is
recap,
some recap. Yeah.
right? But like I said, when I watched it in that format, I think it kind of made me feel like I was watching a TV show, and it probably made me be a little more relaxed with how I felt about it, and it felt a lot more fun to me when I thought about it that way, like watching it on TV. So maybe that's kind of an unfair distortion and way to look at it. But I don't know. I really enjoyed it in that aspect, but there's still shortcomings, like I said. Um, but in general, I had a lot of fun with it again, and the quality is very good on this Blu-ray. So you should
Yeah,
check it
the
out.
quality is very good, even though it highlights even worse the shitty blue screen effects in this movie.
Yeah. What are we at now? Number 6. Yeah.
I believe so.
Alrighty, you're up then. Jesus.
You sure it's 5 or 6?
Yes.
Okay. Oh shit! I'll just go back to my phone. Do I have anything else?
Are you sure Taco's not your favorite character?
He's not. Oh, okay. I am off because I'm missing a disc. Shit. Okay. Whatever. My number 6 is Mighty Joe 98. Can barely see it there. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is a Disney disc. Get your hands on it. It's like $7. Mighty Joe 98 is also a very underrated monster movie. It's a shame that this flopped. Yes, it feels very Disney, but this is from the era of Disney that I like, the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. Phenomenal fucking special effects. Honestly, effects that I don't think have aged at all. Sure, there's a bit of obvious digital stuff, but they used it sparingly and focused on the practicals. And man, this is Rick Baker's best special effects work as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I would like to point out, not to come in on this, but Rick Baker had worked on like 6 movies before '76 King Kong, including The Exorcist and Schlock. Funny enough, the ape suit for Schlock.
Huh. Maybe that was his first, where he was either one of the main guys in charge of the effects or the main guy in charge of the effects. But yeah, as far as apes go, Mighty Joe is easily his best work. The practical suit and animatronic effects for Joe are absolutely phenomenal. They don't age at all. They're totally convincing, and they're totally well pulled off. And Joe himself is a very good update on the original Joe. He's badass, he's intimidating, but he's also lovable and adorable still. Again, yes, it does feel very Disney, but that's not a bad thing. It's a very entertaining, very well done, well made, phenomenal, fun ass movie. Like there's not enough good things you can say about this movie. Mighty Joe 98 is awesome.
Okay, my number 6. Actually, technically, I don't actually own my number. Anyway, so my number 6 is the American cut of this. Now, I feel less weird saying that because I know this movie has grown on you a little bit, even this cut since we've talked before, like years ago. But I know you still don't like it. I have way too, and be lucky because this used to be number 1. So I think it was in my last video, if it wasn't number 2. But
2.
since then, I have seen the Japanese cut, saw that last year in preparation for our video. I still like this. I saw it when I was pretty young, and this is probably the most rewatchable Godzilla movie to me, for whatever reason. Like, we said this in our video too. It's like, how do you make the most? If you want to show someone what a Godzilla movie looks like, this is the movie you show them. If you want to show somebody kind of what a King Kong movie is about, I would show this movie to some people too. Maybe not over others, but again, you put them together and you get this. It's pretty simplified for both of them. And I don't know, it's a very 60s movie at the same time. It's my favorite Godzilla suit ever. It's my favorite look for him. Definitely not for Kong, but I mean, it doesn't look so bad. I mean, actually, if you look at this, some of this on the back cover doesn't look so bad, but some of it's horrible. Like, what the Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a fun movie, and it's very rewatchable to me, and I think I have too many good memories with it to criticize it as bad as it is. But again, we've discussed how it's experimental in a lot of ways too. It was Toho's first jab at kind of doing something like that. I know Raids again had a fight, but I don't know, this was a little different. So I still think it's a fun movie. And now we're in the top 5. So now they better be good for us.
Well, this is the one that I forgot to grab the disc for. My number 5 is King Kong Escapes. Damn it, I love this movie. Yes, it's ridiculous and silly and cartoonish, and the Kong suit is terrible. Fuck off, Mr. Taco.
He won't escape.
Damn it, King Kong Escapes is fucking spectacular. It's cheesy. It's B-movie as fuck. It's ridiculously awesome. Kong is a badass. Doctor Who is awesome. Mechanic Kong is awesome. The kaiju action is great. It's got a lot of problems, no doubt. Kong! King Kong!
Yeah, as I played in the intro, Kong, put me down.
Put me down, Kong! Put me down!
Kong's like,
Oy vey.
I think Jack
King Kong
interviewed that lady.
Huh?
I think Jack interviewed that actor.
Yeah, Jack did it. Interview Linda Miller. Yeah. But damn it, King Kong Escapes is such a fun movie. Anyone who says it's bad, you're looking at it the wrong way. And clearly it's not your kind of movie. So just shut your fucking trap, sit in your angry fap corner, and just be quiet.
All right. If that's all you have to say, my number 5 is King Kong Escapes. Boom. On Blu-ray. Very nice. I remember I thought this was a steal when I got it because I had never seen a disc for this for a long time. I actually hadn't seen this until like 4 or 5 years ago.
Isn't a Blu-ray like only $10?
I think it is, but I couldn't find it for some reason for a long time. Anyway, like you said, very fun movie. Now, I'm kind of a fan of the Rankin Bass cartoon, even though I know Jack hates it. I gave it a try. I think it's kind of charming.
That's one of your stamps of pride, is that you actually did bring a lot more recognition to the Rankin Bass cartoon.
Yeah. Who else on YouTube wanted to sit down and watch every episode? And then, although I did miss a couple because they were lost, but
obviously not the King Kong guy. Step up your game, Jackie boy.
I know. He did like a 6-minute video on it. But anyway, this movie was loosely based off of that show. Rankin Bass had like the rights to it or whatever, and there's some parallels. I actually think Doctor Who in the show is much better if they made him live action, but Doctor Who's still fun and goofy in this movie. I mean, for all the villains that have been in like Godzilla, Kong, Toho movies, what a weird guy. What a weird wardrobe, like weird everything.
He has eyebrows, and he's like lifting up his eyebrows. The way how he talks, and he talks into the over-exaggeration motion of his mouth with his bad teeth and his giant Japanese gray fro hair slicked back with dyed streaks of black, wearing pure black with knee-high boots.
He's like freaking like a half Dracula something. Who even knows what he is? And it's funny that he's called Doctor Who. But anyway, the Kong suit is a little better than. It's a lot better
Yeah,
than
a bit better.
62, but it still has its moments where it's like, what the and some of the water scenes on the island, you can see the
That's
headpiece
where
coming
it's
off.
at its worst, is
Yeah,
when Kong is in the water.
right. But I think Kong looks a lot more cartoonish in expression in this version. And it's just got all the stuff you want in a Kong movie and stuff you didn't know you wanted. It has Kong fighting a T-Rex and it's Kong versus Mecha Kong. And they climb a
And
giant
Doctor
tower.
Who, voiced by Burgermeister Meisterburger. The real Kong seems quicker.
That's
My Kong
hilarious.
won't fire.
And you'd be surprised how much of this movie was taken inspiration for Godzilla versus Kong. I'm just saying. Um,
Really?
yeah,
Well,
Element X is a big point in that movie. Um, and actually, Doctor Who has a very similar haircut to what's his face at Apex. Anyway,
it's a
fun
terrible
movie.
accent.
I know, fun movie. It's cartoonish, and I could rewatch it all day probably. Anyway, you're up, number 4.
My number 4, Rampage. Now, okay, this is coming from somebody who never played any of the Rampage games. I've seen this movie 4 times since it's come out, and I love this movie. It's a kick-ass monster movie. I am a big fan of The Rock, so maybe I'm a little biased. I am also a big fan of monster movies, so I am also a bit biased. I don't really look at this movie as a video game adaptation, but even still, I would say it's a damn good video game adaptation film. The special effects are really, really good. The monster action is a lot of fun. The monsters themselves, while being a bit, well, no, not really simple. They're just giant animals, but they're also giant hybrid animals, which those are always cool. Yeah, the monster action is really really fun. It has a good tone and a good sense of scope to it because it does feel like a kind of a pretty big movie. Ow. George is awesome. The motion capture on him is really, really solid, and him as a badass monster, he's pretty good. I do have a couple problems. It should have been R-rated. I actually feel like a couple times they wanted it to be R-rated, mostly with Ralph going around tearing people to pieces in the woods. They do like some kind of show the gore scenes, but they don't really. And the movie overall, it kind of does have moments where it wants to be a bit more gruesome, like when Lizzie rips off Ralph's head. You'd think there would be blood spraying everywhere, but there isn't. My biggest problem with the movie is compared to the other two monsters, mostly against Lizzie, George feels too underpowered. He's a lot smaller than Lizzie for starters, but he also gets his ass kicked for a good chunk of the fight. Against Ralph, he puts up a good fight, like when he smashes that crane right into Ralph as he's about to pounce on him. Also, the humor is on fleek. Of course, the wolf flies. Ooh. The movie is funny. It's well made. It's entertaining. It has a couple weak elements to it, but overall, Rampage is a solid ass monster movie, and I kick myself in the ass every single day for not seeing it in theaters.
I'm going to go on a little mini tangent before I move on to my number 4. This is how many characters, if I can get this up, are in the game that I played. in Rampage, and they went with these three, and they're all supposed to be the same power level pretty much, and they made Lizzie like some big boss or something. I don't know. And I think this one's named after Harryhausen, which is kind of funny. Maybe Jules Verne too. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, I
Well,
don't
maybe
know.
they can explore those in a sequel if that ever gets made.
Maybe. Okay. So my number 4, I don't have this disc either. This is at home. Not at home. I'm at home at school. Godzilla versus Kong. This was the most anticipated movie of my entire life for the last like 5 years. So of course, when I went to the theaters, I was like bursting with excitement, and I had a really fun time with it. I took my friends to go see it. There was like nobody in the theater except for us and like a little kid and their mom behind us. And that was kind of a fun experience too, because I was like hyping the kid up the whole time. This kid's mind was probably blown during that movie. Um, and I just had fun with it. I mean, this was a really refreshing movie for a couple of reasons. One of the bigger ones was the opening scene of the movie. I had never seen, I feel like, even 2014, a Godzilla movie in theaters where he's coming to a city and you feel like a little bit of dread. Like you're a little afraid of what's going to happen. I haven't experienced that in a long time. Yeah, about that much dread. And I wasn't burping. I didn't drink a soda during that movie because I would have pissed everywhere. It is a short movie though. Anyway, that opening scene was really refreshing, and seeing Godzilla like that again was really fun. And I think the sci-fi elements, they really went for it sci-fi with this one, which is a lot of fun. Again, the effects are great. The fights are pretty much everything you'd want to see from a rematch. I didn't really ever feel like there was anything left out. And in fact, even though I'm somebody that was very critical of how some of the other movies had handled the monsters versus 2014, what are you looking at?
Yo, King of the Monsters hating ass.
Listen, I will say this. I was like, I liked how 2014 was at least kind of slow and heavy, but I will say the fights in this movie were so brutal and fast paced. That last one, it blew my mind. I was jaw dropped for literally like the whatever 5 minutes straight that first round, or they'll call it, went. I was like, oh my god, it was great. Mechagodzilla was a great appearance, and actually, I would compare the fights weirdly enough to Raids Again.
Very nasty and animalistic.
Right. But actually looks good. No, and a Mechagodzilla was a good addition.
Yeah.
I liked how they tried to tie some of the Kong stuff in with the skull crawlers. They could have done more. And obviously my big series I did with Sean, where it's like an hour long, where we broke down how much they freaking, I don't know what a polite word to use is, but they ripped this movie apart. There's so much left that they even filmed that we don't even know about. Tons of a huge Godzilla subplot that they just discarded, and a whole intro sequence on Skull Island that doesn't exist anymore, which makes me upset. And that's the only thing that holds me back from liking it more, is that it could have been much better. So that's my number 4. And I did want Godzilla to win.
He does.
Which he does. All right, number 3, you're up. Top 3.
Godzilla versus Kong.
Cool.
Now, I have a lot to say about this film.
You haven't reviewed it, have you?
Nope.
This is interesting.
I'll probably have even more to say when I review it, but consider this a prelude. Godzilla vs. Kong is the movie that all kaiju fans have been dying to see ever since the original movie came out. Was it worth the wait? Mostly. Godzilla vs. Kong is kind of a very, very mixed experience. On one hand, it's got some of the best scenes in all kaiju history, especially for Godzilla and Kong. It's got some of the best that both characters showcase. Probably the very best. We'll talk about that good stuff. One, its tone. It feels big. Two, the monsters are given a crap ton of good focus. The effects are phenomenal. It's got a bitchin' ass soundtrack. It's very colorful. And of course, the fight scenes are fucking spectacular. Very happy that there's 3, technically. The second one's cut into 2. But I say that there's 3. Fantastic fight scenes. And it includes one of my favorite Godzilla kaiju, being Mechagodzilla. It's got a lot of great things about it. Unfortunately, it also has some very frustrating elements. And it mostly is almost entirely Warner Brothers' fault, because they ripped this movie to pieces. Now, do we need a 5-hour cut of Godzilla vs. Kong? No, even though I'd watch the fuck out of it. But even so, an hour and 55-minute long movie, not enough. This movie easily should have been at least 2.5 hours long. All of the subplots that were deleted, one being the entire Godzilla subplot, is noticeably missing, and frustratingly so. This movie feels like the filmmakers wanted to kind of pull once again what Universal was doing with the original American cut of King Kong vs. Godzilla. They wanted to turn into a Kong film. Now, I'm not going to be one of those angry, butthurt Godzilla fanboys that just wants everything to go into Godzilla's corner. I wanted there to be a fair fight between Godzilla and Kong. The movie delivers on that. I also did want Godzilla to win, and he does. But Mechagodzilla should have had more scenes. Where the fuck are the skull crawlers? Where's that fight between Godzilla and a big skull crawler that we've all wanted to see? Fuck, Godzilla and Kong could have teamed up to take on a swarm of skull crawlers in Hong Kong. How cool would that have been? And the final fight between Godzilla, Kong, and Mechagodzilla is awesome, but it feels like a very hollow victory for Godzilla. I wish Godzilla could have assisted a bit more. Like, it wasn't solely a win for Kong. I wish Godzilla could have helped a bit more than just charging up Kong's axe. Like, maybe it could have ripped off Mechagodzilla's tail and blown off one of Mechagodzilla's arms. Then let Kong finish him off. Even though it sounds like I do a shit ton of bitching about this movie, Godzilla vs. Kong is a kick-ass fucking movie. It was made by monster movie fans. It was made for monster movie fans. This was the biggest movie that I was looking forward to in 2021. It did deliver, but unfortunately, not nearly as much as Justice League. But knowing that there's so much deleted footage, it makes this movie just a kind of frustrating, because it could have been better had Warner Brothers just not been a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself too much, because me and Sean have covered this extensively, but I do want to say when people, I don't like. I'm afraid that what our videos did is make people go crazy. Not like Snyder cult crazy, but like the idea of a 5-hour cut isn't a real thing. Adam Wingard said 5 hours of material, which to me means writing. And you can write 5 hours of material, and most of it can be lore, and that's fine. But he has specifically mentioned at one point there was a 2-hour, 45-minute cut of the movie, which is a lot of missing stuff.
Uh-huh. It's
And
almost that's 50 minutes of footage.
Yes. And that was the editor's cut, I think he said. And his cut was like 2 hours 15. So even his cut didn't get to theaters. And he admitted that. Anyway, oh my god, I could go on that for a while. My number
The last
3.
thing I'll say too, there are a lot of questions that I have, like where's the rest of the monsters? I am aware of the MonsterVerse comics, specifically the 2 that were released leading up to this movie. I want to get my hands on those comics. They look really good. So maybe those will answer some questions about this movie.
A little bit.
And the final thing, if this is the finale of the MonsterVerse, I don't think it works.
I agree.
Moving on.
I don't want to go on another tangent again, but I think if they answered more questions in this than they asked, I think it could have been a finale. But I think okay, yeah. Anyway, my number 3 is the original. I'm sorry. I recently rewatched this.
1933 in third place.
Yeah, 3 for 3. So obviously I have a podcast now that I have with one of my movie friends. And we watched both this and the original Gojira in like a big projector setting, kind of trying to watch them more film analytically, and having it on the big screen with a better sound system. Different way I've ever experienced this movie, and I had a lot of fun. And I thought it was glorious. I thought it was really exciting. There's very few movies that I can look at even just at one shot, because they're older movies, they don't cut as much. Where you can just stare into the sets, and it's like you can just keep looking forever. As a piece of I guess you could call it fantasy, though it's been called a million. It's been called horror, action, adventure, even some sci-fi. I would call it a lot of fantasy.
Yeah.
Just the look of the movie's great. And yeah, the characters aren't amazing, but if we're gonna keep it standard to its time, again, I don't really, kind of like how I said Jill, her character in the original Mighty Joe Young is a little stale. That's kind of how they wrote women at the time. There really isn't an excuse for Jack; he's just horrible. But I think
I love you.
Oh god, yeah, he's horrible. He might even be worse than Greg, actually. I gotta think. But anyway, that aside, I think Robert Armstrong's great in the movie, and I think it's a movie you can easily get lost in, and the New York stuff is really entertaining, and it's to me it's crazy to think how old the movie is, and I don't know, I think it's effective still. I think some of the effects hold up, even some of them. I know you might disagree with me. I think some of them do, especially how
some of them, yes. But despite how much they tried with this movie to make the effects look great, they look great for their time, but this movie is nearly 90 years old. No matter how hard you try, I'm sure even by 2090, the effects in Godzilla vs. Kong will look somewhat dated.
Right. I mean, like I said, it's tough to determine, but especially like a movie like that hadn't even been made at the time. Like a movie, I think James Rolfe said it's like the first movie that the main character is a special effect and not even a real, thing. So, I still find it fun. I think the black and white is fun. The score is, I'll say the score is my second favorite Kong score of all time. It's just a good score and it fits really well with the movie. There's even an overture in the front of the movie, which is very classic. So, again, it's not perfect, but I'm still a fan of it. If you want to get to your number 2.
My number 2, King Kong 05. In terms of nostalgia, this movie is easily number 1. Technically, 76 was the first Kong movie I ever saw, but this was the first one I saw and loved. Also, the only Kong movie that I've ever seen the first Kong movie I ever saw in theaters, one of only 2. I fucking love this movie. I don't have any problems with it except for Kong dying. That's the only thing I don't like about this movie. But even then, it is more well done than it is in the original movie, and certainly in 76. I fucking adore this film. There is some dated CG and green screen effects, mostly in the Brontosaurus Stampede, especially when the characters are shooting down the. I don't think that's their name, but the Velociraptors. You can tell the characters are on green screens. I still love the fuck out of this movie. Again, not my favorite Kong design, but for this this movie does. I actually remember thinking that I feel like Peter Jackson did take some influence from 76 for this movie. In heightening the actual emotional connection between Anne and Kong. That feels like it was taken from 76. Also, Naomi Watts, she looks a bit similar to Jessica Lange. It's mostly the short blonde hair. Also, her outfit at the end of the movie looks kind of similar to what Jessica Lange was wearing in Kong 76. But I totally lost track of what I was going to say. Fuck. Parenting life.
Mm-hmm. Took inspiration from 76 as well.
Oh, yeah. God damn it. I lost where I was going with that. Fuck. I was going to something really good with that. But am I the only one who does feel that? I feel like Peter Jackson took some inspiration from 76 for this film. Kong's design. I remember. So what the filmmakers were doing with 76, this movie does even better. This is, like you said in our original ranking, this is the most believable Skull Island. And this movie does the realism, mixing in the fantasy elements very, very well. This version of Skull Island almost kind of feels like it's out of Pandora and Avatar. It's hostile, it's nasty, it's violent. This isn't a con or a nitpick, but I would have loved to see this movie get an R rating. Because this movie's violent. About as violent as PG-13 will allow. It's gruesome, it's gritty, it's grungy, it's awesome. Kong is badass. Not my favorite design either, but for what this movie is doing, it's a perfect design. And of course, I forgot to mention this in our original ranking, Andy Serkis does a phenomenal job playing Kong. I do think his work with Caesar in the reboot Planet of the Apes trilogy is a bit better, but that's only because he talks. But what he does with Kong, honestly, watching this movie when I first saw it in theaters, there were a few moments where I was expecting Kong to speak. His performance is so good. King Kong 05 is a very special movie for me. When I saw this in theaters for maybe 10 seconds, I liked Kong more than Godzilla. It's that good. And as a movie theater experience, This movie feels big. Peter Jackson's best movie. Enough said.
All right. I'm such an asshole for doing this. I know this is not the actual disc for it, but my number 2 is the Japanese cut of King Kong versus Godzilla.
Wow. You just stroked this movie like crazy.
So, all right, when I watched the Japanese cut, and obviously, like I said, nostalgia has let me forgive a lot of the things about the English cut of the movie anyway. When I saw the Japanese cut, I was like, wow, like some of that stuff that I thought was just there isn't there. Specifically the human characters. I actually, not that I didn't really give a shit about the human characters in the English version. At least in the Japanese version, there's a little bit more attention given to them, especially Taco. You really get the idea that he's not just like some total mad idiot crazy person. He's just like a TV guy like on his last leg, and he's there's even an extra scene that's not even in the English cut where there's some like party going on and he's trying to like get attention from people and stuff like that. You really kind of understand who he is better in this one. I actually don't like the score as much as I do in the English one, but everything else is better. Like I said, it's just a classic movie, and the human characters are weird but not psychotic in this one, and it works for me. And I don't know. I mean, I guess the version of the Japanese cut I saw was higher quality than my DVD, so maybe that affects it too. But no dumb American cutscenes in there that we don't need, and that worked fine for me. So
There it is.
God damn
That'll
it!
be the
And
last one for this video.
and I believe as we pointed out, I think we pointed this out. There might have been some. Was there some rearranging in the editing too of the story? Not
A
too
little
much.
bit. A couple
Yeah.
scenes were shuffled around here and there, but nothing
Okay.
like the theatrical cut of the Ben Affleck Daredevil. Nothing like that.
And yes, Mr. Talk was fine in the Japanese cut.
No
Again,
more.
it's a classic movie, and is it stupid of me to rank this above the remake? Maybe. I don't care. I think it's fun. I think it's
Well, if you like what you like, I'm not going to judge you for that. I'm just
I
saying
know.
I don't agree with that ranking.
I know this is also going to sound really dumb, but this is my opinion. I think that I didn't mind the tone of Godzilla versus Kong, but I don't know. I feel like that kind of just crazy tone just works better when you have dumb effects, and the effects don't look great in this movie. I don't know, but I feel like I'm going to like that movie forever. So I guess we both know what our number ones are, but you can go. For some reason, you're number one.
Kong Skull Island. I went into this not necessarily with low expectations, but I just didn't really know what to expect. Kong doesn't fucking die, which is something you can say about Godzilla vs. Kong too, though that leads into a problem, but I'm going to save that for when I review Godzilla vs. Kong. But damn it, this movie is just so fucking fun. Pierce described it as a glorified B movie. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Damn it, Kong Skull Island is so fun. Fantastic effects. Funny, entertaining, relatable characters. John C. Reilly. Sounds like a bird, but it's a fucking ant.
Yep. That's a good one.
You with this knife by the end of the night.
Oh, and let's not forget, which I didn't mention, John Goodman. Even though I'm mad that they killed him, my favorite character in that movie.
Yeah, that took me by surprise. The last time I watched this movie, I did kind of make a mental note as to saying, why? He feels like an integral character. Did they just kill him off for shock value?
It was for Houston Brooks' character, I guess, which they totally garbaged him in the rest of the MonsterVerse. Not totally. He's in the comics, but anyway.
phenomenal monster action. Kong is amazing in this movie. I still feel like Kong 05 had just a little bit of influence on this. Sure, we could have seen more of Skull Island. We could have seen more monsters. We could have seen more people getting fucked the fuck up. They could have pushed the violence in this movie a bit more. This movie feels a little tamer than Kong 05. The motion capture on Kong, though, is still phenomenal. The monster fights are absolutely amazing. The skull crawlers are great antagonistic monsters. This is a great example of a movie showcasing something like a grunt monster, something that could be considered cannon fodder, but still utilizing them in a way that shows even the cannon fodder is formidable, which is great. We know that Godzilla would totally flatten even the big skull crawler, but still a fight between a skull crawler and Godzilla would still be fun to watch. Also, I don't mind Brie Larson in this movie. She can actually act, and her character, I think, is pretty all right. Tom Hiddleston's character is great. The camaraderie between all these Vietnam era soldiers is a lot. Is like you get swept up into it. You feel like you're a member of this platoon. It's great.
Bitch, please.
Bitch, please.
Sorry.
I'm trying to think of some funny lines. I have a wife. Had a wife. Have a wife. Oh, she's probably just thinks you're dead. Hey, I would have fucking smacked that dude with the butt of my rifle. What are some other funny lines? Hold on to your butts. Oh, you know that's a Jurassic Park reference.
I know.
Is that a monkey? There's not enough good things I can say about Kong Skull Island. It is a masterpiece. Fuck all you haters of this movie. You don't know what good movies are. There's just certain movies that I get like very aggressively protective over. And this is one of them. Fuck off all you haters. This is a masterpiece of kaiju cinema.
Before I do my number one, I have to go get something.
Oh dear. With that shit-eating grin on his face, I can only imagine what it is.
You've already done the joke, but I feel like I have to contribute. Today's sponsor,
What flavor is that?
Spark.
Oh, we haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah, it's a new permanent flavor now, so I just recently found it. Anyway, it's raspberry lemonade. It's actually not bad.
Oh, wait, is that okay? So we have gotten that. We just haven't gotten cans. We've gotten bottles. It's nasty.
I like it. All right. My number one, actually, I think it's probably in my top 5 favorite movies ever in general. Gee, I almost dropped it. King Kong 2005, the Peter Jackson King Kong. There's a little bit of agreement here because you had yours at number 2. It's I can't. The thing about this movie is like, I think Peter Jackson understood the character and everything so well. I really don't think. Go ahead. All right, not as good as your last one. I don't ever. Maybe an ignorant statement. I don't ever see the need to remake King Kong ever again. Now that this movie exists, I know that's a very maybe ignorant statement,
but for different reasons.
Okay, the effects hold up. I mean, what's this? 16 years old now. Like I think it was Christmas 2005. So 16 years old. A lot of this still looks really good. And again, a lot of that maybe has to do with Andy Serkis and not even just the CG capabilities themselves. What they do with the effects. Ann Darrow is in this movie played by Naomi Watts. she's like the definitive Anne in my eyes. I mean, her performance is awesome in this movie. Um, what's actually kind of
Yeah.
funny, Kyle Chandler, funny enough being in this movie now because of GVK. He comes off as a very Greg Mighty Joe Young, if you will, or the original Jack too, um, which is kind of like a funny, kind of jab at those old movies. Interesting enough. Um,
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Okay.
yeah, I don't love Adrian Brody. Not that he's bad. He's just very forgetful for me. Um, and
Keep talking. I gotta get something.
okay, I really like Jack Black in this movie too.
Ugh.
Um, and so Jesus Christ.
Shut
So
up.
overall, the cast is good in the movie, and I, I think that I gotta think. Is this one of the old? Yeah, this is one of the oldest movies that I'd seen. Um, that at least I remember. This is definitely one of the first movies I remember watching ever. And like Nick said, it's a big scale, um, and you feel like you could be there too. That's just how good the effects are and how good the world looks. It's and it's long too, and I'm a sucker for long movies. Um, because what's the point of immersing me? A movie is an experience. What's the point of an experience if I can't be there for a
Ugh.
long time and you can't show everything you want to show? Um, yeah, I don't really think there's too many redundancies, and some of the extra characters are fine. Englehorn's but he doesn't have to be anyway.
Douche.
Jimmy and that whole thing,
Hayes.
those guys, Hayes, right? Yeah, Hayes, another GVK thing. They're an entertaining little subplot there. Um, Kong is great. It's not my favorite design of Kong. In fact, I don't actually like it that much, funny enough. But it works for trying to be realistic and saying, hey, it's a silverback.
He
So I
literally is a giant silverback.
right. So I don't have too many problems with it in that context. Um, but again, this is one of my earliest memories of watching a movie, and
It's there right next to you.
probably right when it came out too. I probably watched it, and I don't know. It's just, and I've seen the Lord of the Rings movies. Maybe it's because I'm not a fan of Lord of the Rings, but I think that this is definitely Peter Jackson's best stuff, and uh, I don't think there's anybody better to make the King Kong movies. I think his vision is great. Um, and there's actually a interesting little bit of information I did a video on. I don't know if you know about this, Nick, but actually, I think Jack might have sent us it. But Peter Jackson actually considered Adam Wingard to do a sequel to this King Kong movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because he
You
saw
should have.
whatever friggin' horror movie that Adam Wingard did, because Peter Jackson got started in horror. So he saw a movie. He's like, oh hey, this guy is my next pick to do a King Kong remake, and then Legendary had their say with that. But yeah, I mean this movie's a classic. I've watched all the special features probably a billion times over on this extended edition. So it's great, and I think it stands the test of time. I don't think they need to remake it again.
Well, since I'm not going to be able to download this video to listen to while I'm at work, I think there could be room to do a remake for this film. It would have to be okay. I will say there can never be another beat for beat remake of Kong ever made again. The only way that you could do a Kong remake is if you make it quite a bit different. Maybe not so much like, go to Skull Island, set it in modern day, but go to Skull Island, have Kong fight dinosaurs, give it even more of a mystical fantasy feel.
Or I would put more horror in it too.
Definitely do that too. Make it R-rated as well, like hard R-rated. Don't try to make it look like Jurassic Park, which is something that I do think, even though Kong 05 is a Universal movie, I never felt like they were trying to copy Jurassic Park. That hell, Lost World does that even more, and that's its own franchise. The biggest difference A is Kong himself. They would, I think they should even more so showcase the kind of the missing link aspect. He's an ape creature, but you can't really pin down what kind of ape he is. He's his own thing. Which, well,
Yep.
you can kind of say they do that with Kong in the MonsterVerse, but even more so. But also, the big thing that you would need to change is the ending. Have
Yep.
Kong live. Do what the PS2 King Kong 05 game does. Have Kong defeat the airplanes, and then they just say, you know what? We kind of fucked up. Capture Kong and just send him back to his home. Or never have them leave the island. Have Kong literally kick their asses off of Skull Island.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I see too, and I would like to see something like with a different ending or something. I mean, 76 took some liberties, but I mean they followed the same structure. But like that's why I'm more interested in like TV show ideas for Kong, like the supposed anime that they're doing and stuff like that. I
I'll
wouldn't
believe
mind
that
just
when I see it.
I know, but I wouldn't mind seeing him take directions like that. Because, like with Godzilla, there's a lot more like breathing room. You can kind of put him in any story, but Kong people are more familiar with like but I think the MonsterVerse is kind of opening that door up a little bit by making him feel a little different now. So I don't know, but any closing statements you want to say? Future videos? Well, we have something tomorrow, but
Yeah. All right. So, look forward to tomorrow's video on my channel where me and Ryan will be discussing the 1976 remake of King Kong in my newest episode of Super Kaiju Binge. Look forward to that. I'll be a bit more in-depth, even though I think I did a pretty good job summing this movie up. We'll be doing a bit more in-depth on our opinions for this movie. Yeah, look forward to that. Look forward to also more episodes of Super Kaiju Binge. Jackie Boy got me into a bit of a Kong mood. So next week I'll be discussing King Kong Lives and Mighty Joe 98. And hopefully I can finish off this month with at least reviewing Kong 05. I'll save the MonsterVerse stuff for when I get to that for Godzilla. But yeah, look forward to that. Go ahead, Ryan. Anything to plug?
I linked Nick's channel in the chat if anybody wants to go check that out. Just if you want to watch tomorrow. I don't have any plans because I finished my little VHS Godzilla vs Kong fun little edit series. That was just for fun anyway. Unless I can get you assholes to help me do voice work, I don't know if I'm going to do my comic thing.
Hey, parenting life, that's the best excuse that anybody can give.
I know, that's fine. I'll make my friends at school do it. And other than that, I'm going to actually be starting my podcast again, but we're like gutting the format. But go to that channel too. We're going to make it a lot different, but we're still going to be talking about movies, so that's really what I got on the
You
books.
review kaiju movies on your channel.
I don't know.
Yes, it's nothing new, but who the fuck cares?
Maybe we'll get there. Who knows? I don't know, but other than that, I have an appearance on Super Kaiju Binge. I plan to probably have some more down the line too. So go to Nick's channel to see that. And until then, how would I close this like Nick Jackson? Go maybe take an ape from an island or don't, or have them die or not. Or have a screaming woman or don't.
Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends. And as always, if you're going to remake a classic movie, make sure you do both different and also familiar stuff so you can appease both crowds so that your movie ages well. And enough with the fucking fish jokes!
Yeah, with fish.
Ugh! And
Okay,
we will
bye.
see you guys in the next